idea.
Oh shit, we are live here. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. We're here at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, Saturday morning, start of a new year. We've got hopefully Adolph Mongo here. We're going to bring him into the studio. Let's see here if we can add him. Yep, there he is. The original.
Y'all were so engrossed in your conversation that you forgot that it was live.
Yeah. My fault. I'm using a new computer here.
You heard everything we said.
I'm blaming.
I heard everything. You know, PPO, the judge in Nevada, that guy, he jumped so high. He need to go on the Olympic team, do long jump.
That was my outrage.
Yeah.
That's your outrage. He's crazy. He ain't crazy. He's just a criminal. So
I don't know. Well, crazy and criminal can go together. But you know what?
Well,
he said good morning. Let's recognize everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I can introduce myself. I am an advocate for people, so I can advocate for myself. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to everyone.
All right. Good morning. And then we have
this is Vanessa Moss.
Vanessa Moss. Then we have Jim Nardone, the former police chief in Trenton, which I still have never been to. That's my goal in 2024. I've never, I don't know how to get downriver. I've been to Wyandotte.
Go to 4th Street. Go right to 4th Street and keep going. You'll go through Riverview. You go through Lincoln Park. You go through Wyandotte. You can even go to Gibraltar, and then you can end up in Trenton. Go over by Ramsey and ask for Johnny or Mia, and they'll take care of you. Am I right, Jim?
Absolutely. Okay.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Who is out of town, but he's coming to us live from somewhere. You want to disclose your location?
I'm with the people.
The Witness Protection Program. He cannot disclose the location. So let's.
I went to the Rose Bowl.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court.
All right, sorry about that. I've got this new computer. It's very touchy. But anyways, we were going to talk about that.
Right. That was my outrage of the week, and I don't know if people heard our conversation before we officially live, but there is, that's very scary, and it is outrageous. Fortunately, he didn't break a limb or anything like that. But this judge is doing her job, and in doing her job, this is what she gets. That is outrageous. But my question is, what in the heck were the deputies doing? I'm sorry. They're supposed to be there to protect because they know that people do things like that. They know that. So what the heck happened there?
I think they needed Aiden Hutchinson there to do the tackle.
They were asleep. Like the referee at Ford Field.
That is ridiculous. And I don't know if there's been a conversation about that, but really, I mean, I've been in court so many times where the judges have said, hey, where are the deputies? Make sure the deputies are here, because you know that these people, they don't like decisions. They don't like the decisions that are being handed down, whether they're being sentenced in criminal court, whether somebody's making a ruling in court, whether it's a matter in probate court. People get angry. People act out. And those deputies are supposed to be there to protect the judge and prevent it from happening. As an attorney, as I was telling Allan earlier today, I've had incidents where I was really afraid for my personal safety. Out of Oakland County a few years back, and you said you heard the conversation, there was a guy that was really pissed off. I took an appointment. I represented him. He didn't like what happened. Actually, I didn't represent him. I represented the other side. He didn't like what happened. He made all kinds of phone calls. The court called me, the officers called me and said, Vanessa, we want you to be careful. I had another case here in Wayne County where my client got so pissed off. He went across me, but he knocked me down into the benches and beat up his mother. I mean, and of course it caught people by surprise, but where in the heck were the deputies? No.
But you know what? Just recently, they just got a guy that broke into the Colorado Supreme Court building, had a gun, because he was going after the justices. He was pissed off about Trump. Just a few years ago, an attorney pissed at the federal judge, got her address, went to her house. She wasn't there. Her son, 20 years old, answered the door. He kills him. You know, so judges are under attack. But that goes to my outrage, and we can talk about it, where here in Michigan, not only are the judges they need to be worried about their safety, but Black judges, period, need to be worried that whatever they do, they probably get kicked off the bench the way the Judicial Tenure Commission is operating these days. That's my outrage.
Well, you know what, though, guys? It's not just the Judicial Tenure Commission. It's also the Attorney Grievance Commission. As a Black person, we know that we are treated differently. The punishment is meted out differently. And it's really unfortunate. It's just really sad. That is a reality. And that's something we've been talking about for the last couple of years. The God rest her soul, Judge Hood. You know, she was supposed to sit on that commission, and of course, she passed away. She passed away,
yes.
Because they recognize that this is a real issue and has been an issue. So, yeah, so that's what I have to say.
All right. Well, I have a few national things. Locally, Kristen Karamo, whatever. I mean, you know, here's the president again that Donald Trump gifted Michigan, and I mean, it really gifted the Democratic Party here. I mean, the Republican Party is in chaos. They want her to step aside. She is the chair of the Michigan Republican Party. I have no idea how she ended up getting there, but somehow she got elected by.
She got the votes.
Ask you this: is she really crazy, or is it because the people within the party didn't like that this Black woman was ordained to, you know, head the party?
She's crazy. It has nothing to do.
But she's crazy. She's a nutcase. She's a nutcase.
You guys have to be careful by using those terms, crazy. What do you mean by crazy? What do you mean?
She has all these crazy conspiracy theories about. She's just, if you listen to her. So
you said conspiracy
she's an election denier.
Are you saying that conspiracy theories?
She threatened to kill her husband and her kids. She threatened to kill her kids because she was pissed at her husband. What is that?
Story in the news cycle. How do we know
that was an allegation, I think, in court.
How do we know that it's true?
Well, but she's also
in true defense attorney form. You trying to defend this nut?
She's an election denier. She tried to invalidate the Detroit votes, you know, in Detroit because the Democrats and trying to take away in 2020. I mean, she is just. I mean, look, she has so many Republicans asking her to step aside because she is doing what she does what Trump does. She creates chaos and divisiveness. That party, it's great for the Democrats. I mean, Democrats want her to stay in there as long as she can because nobody's giving money. Anybody who has real money in the Republican Party is refusing to give money. The Republican Party of all parties is broke here in Michigan.
That's the Republicans in black and white. That's what I say it is.
But having said all that, Allan, having said all that, the Democrats are still in trouble. Trump is still in striking distance. Biden is on the verge of losing the state of Michigan. Arab Americans say, screw Biden. Black folks saying, I'm not voting. So Democrats better get their act together. And even though Christine Caramo is crazy, I agree with you. But it's still a uphill battle for the Democratic Party come 2024.
Listen, I'm gonna shout out to Valerie Smith. They said that's how most men talk about women. Shaking my head. Why can't you speak professional when it comes to a Black woman? That's the point that I was trying
Trump's
to make.
Crazy too.
Listen.
Trump is
Oh, I
crazy.
thought we were
Right.
Listen, but I really, when I said that's the Republican Party in black and white, I really feel that way. But I also believe that it has so much to do with the fact that she is a Black woman.
I don't think so. I think she's carrying Trump water. Listen, I'm not giving her no benefit of the doubt. She's a damn Trump idiot.
If you want to play in the political arena, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever race you are, I mean, you're subject to scrutiny. And she is somebody who is really, like I say, she's an election denier. She's a total MAGA, which whatever.
You have people sitting in Congress. You have people sitting on the Senate that are election deniers.
They nutcases too. We got Lauren Bobbitt. We got Marjorie Taylor Greene. They out of their damn mind. We got Jim Jordan.
That's what people are still putting money into their campaign funds when they run again.
Well, what's the real issue? Some people like that they're racist or whatever. That's what the people like. They like that. So they're like, yeah, we're going to elect them again. It's like, I mean, look, Christine Caramo is, she out of left field. I'm sorry. Whatever you want to call it. She's an agent of chaos.
She very well may be, but guess what?
And her
so are a lot of people that represent her.
But she's the chair of the GOP. But anyway, what's your next one, Allan?
Mine is, Nikki Haley, who is saying that she is going to pardon Trump if he's convicted, which is like, I get it. Look, when Ford pardoned Nixon, he did it for the peace of the country, and maybe there is something to be said about that. But Nixon did not flaunt and give the finger to the law and to the legal system the way. He was humbled by it. He resigned on his own. He
didn't resign on his own, Allan. When all the Senate turned against him, he saw the handwriting on the wall. They kicked him out. He didn't resign on his own.
Trump wouldn't have gone on his own.
So you're outraged that Nikki Haley says that, hey, I will if I'm elected, I would give him a pass.
Yeah, he's committed so many.
She can't look out for her
he's
boy.
A lifetime
she
criminal.
Can't look out for her boy. Look, Jim, if you get in trouble and I'm in a position to help you out,
you don't want to say that.
I'm gonna call you.
You're not. There goes your judgeship.
Listen, this is the internet, okay? This is the internet. I can say what I want to say, and people can believe what they want to believe.
And that's why we don't believe you. That's why you got on your defense attorney hat. You already tried to cut a deal with the police chief. We know what goes on.
That's right.
Jim, you're outraged.
I'm having so much fun, I don't have to say anything. I like that. My outrage is at the Sugar Bowl. So, Bubba, the Washington Huskies won the Sugar Bowl, right? They beat Texas Longhorns. These two young men were celebrating. They happen to be black men, young men. You're talking 19, 20. And Bubba, who I guess was a fan of the Longhorns, basically threatened them. And I saw the fear in their eyes. What really disappoints me is these guys just won this was the biggest event in their young life. And this guy who's with his young son, it looks like maybe 10, 12 years old, is basically threatening these two young
What
men
you
as they're
mean? What did-
celebrating the
what did he
victory.
What did he do?
He said, "Remember me, MFers," is what he kept saying to him. It's, if you haven't seen the film, you should see it. So 2024 starts with hate, and that's the normalization
It
of
ended
hate.
with hate.
I tell
It
you,
ended with hate.
sports is so tribal. I mean, I see that, everywhere I go. I saw it when I was at a Lions game at FedEx Stadium in Maryland against the
Now here
Washington.
you go offending the Indians. Talk about
The
tribal.
Washington Redskins
I
are
heard
now the Commanders or whatever. There were two big burly guys who came in with Dallas Cowboy jerseys on, and I thought, oh no, they're walking into the stadium where they hate the Cowboys in Washington. And these guys walked in. They were two big dudes, and within a half hour, there was a brawl in the stands. They were being escorted out. I mean, it's sports. People are so tribal. I mean, from block to block, from family to family, from country to country, religion, whatever it is, people are willing to. And sports is just the most absurd thing that people are willing to kill each other.
Well, we have had people get killed at these sporting events, knocked, brain dead, etc. We need to take a break, Allan.
All right, let me.
What you drinking?
Like I say, this
What
is
you
a
drinking?
new computer
Coffee.
Oh, okay.
for me.
What's in that coffee cup?
Coffee.
All right.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Detroit itself offers a lot. You just got to be willing to do it. People don't know what you need unless you open your mouth and say, I need help. What inspired me to get my GED was, it was always a goal of mine. But what made it possible for me to get it was the city of Detroit. They gave you everything you needed to succeed. Just pick up the phone, because you already got it in your hand. Get on the website. Detroit for life.
all right, we are back. Here we are. Okay, so, all right, so we're going to talk about today about I'm interested in this, and I don't know a lot about it, but Vanessa is our expert here on this. We're going to talk about the judges. We're going to talk about the Judicial Tenure Commission, and there's a perception or a reality, whatever it is, that Black judges are not treated the same as white judges. And so what's your
I think it's a reality, and as I indicated earlier, you had and I don't know who they've appointed since her death, but one of the things that they had done is before Judge Hood passed away, is they appointed her on this commission because there were so many complaints about the disparity in treatment of Black judges as opposed to the Caucasian counterparts. And so it's not a perception, it's a reality. It's also a reality that there's
Can you give examples?
Well, I gave an example earlier. So you had, I don't want to call these people out. I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Right. You don't have to name names.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to talk
about a judge.
It's quite a few. It is. Because some of these people you have relationships with people. That doesn't mean that people can't do things that are wrong, right? But you still support them. And I feel like by putting me on the spot like this, if I say something, they know,
Well,
but
let me ask you overall
a
question. Are these judges, should they be disciplined in the first place? Are they doing things that are really to the level where the Judicial Tenure Commission
in some instances, you should be disciplined, and it's the way that you're disciplined. So you could be disciplined by, getting a suspension with pay. You could get a letter telling you don't do that again. But it for a lot of the black judges, it results in them getting kicked off the doggone bench, and that's a problem. So years back, I guess you guys will remember, there was a judge who got caught in a bathroom.
I can say his name. His name was what's his name?
No, you can't say his name. But
why not?
No, because you can't remember. That's why you can't say it.
Yes, it is Halloran. Richard Halloran.
So,
I know the name. Yeah, he took a break from his courtroom and went to a metro airport in the bathroom and got caught by a undercover state trooper. Whatever he was doing, and the mayor, Mike Duggan, was the prosecutor, and they didn't prosecute him.
Have a person of the same sex but his punishment was not. He sat off for a few months, and then he was able to just come back on the bench. And people, a lot of the judges was like, "Are you serious?" Then he did something else after that, and still was able to maintain. And didn't get in trouble for the other thing, but he was still able to maintain his seat on the bench until he retired. And then you have someone like, and people said that I'll use her as an example, Judge Deborah Ross Adams. She did something, and she ended up being kicked off the bench, and she ended up losing her license. Now, this woman had experienced trauma. Her daughter passed away, unfortunately, and it was just horrific. It was a whole lot that was going on during this time, and she ended up getting kicked off the bench. The problem with that one was this: not only did she end up getting kicked off the bench, I practiced family law as well. Over there, we only had we have 59 judges in the Wayne County Circuit Court. She was the only Black judge on the family court docket. Okay. So it wasn't until recently when Judge.
You are absolutely right.
Okay, Bill. Hey, Bill, how are you? Unfortunately, fortunately, since the new governor, the latest governor has been in place, she has put some African Americans on the family court bench. But there's great disparity, not in just how we treat it, but how we listen. Who they appoint to these benches, that happens too. You asked me a question earlier today about 36th District Court, 28 judges on the bench. Allan asked me how many were white. I was like, I don't know. I don't think there is a white judge on 36th District bench. I may be mistaken, but I don't think so. But it's easier to get an appointment at the district court than it is to get an appointment at the circuit court.
But isn't this based on behavior? Are we basing it on color? Or are we basing it on behavior? Let me ask you a question. There's how many lawyers come and go? And you said there's 57 judges, I think, in Wayne County?
59 judges in the Wayne County Circuit.
And if I asked you, this judge said this or did this to a defendant or did this to an attorney or client, you would probably be able to narrow that judge down to 4 or 5 judges. If I said this happened in the courtroom, you'd probably say, that was Judge so-and-so, right? So the behavior is there. I checked online. I looked at some of these cases. You can't really see the cases. You can just see who the complaints were made. It's the usual suspects. And I'm not talking about black, white. I'm just talking about the judges that are usual suspects that you would say, yeah, I can see how that guy got in trouble. I can go back to, people would come into my office and say, this police officer did this. And I'd say, well, I guess Tommy was out working midnights last night. Because that's how it usually works, right? So this is based on complaint.
But Jim, what about the judge that just recently, judge up in Mackinac, black judge, got in a dispute about a bicycle, renting a bicycle. Now they want to kick her off the bench.
That's
tell me. Listen, is that?
They want to finished, but this is the thing. Now, of course, I haven't paid attention to if they in the process of going. I know that they were in the
Yes.
I don't know if they actually
Yes.
had the course. But here's the deal. What they're trying to say is, we have you on video, and you didn't tell the truth. I don't know what the case may be, but the extreme is to say, listen, you no longer have a job. Okay, the consequences of the actions is the problem for me. Okay, it lines up with what you did. Okay, if you've done something wrong, you need to be held accountable. But to what extreme? And what I'm saying is that Black people are held to a different standard. And I'm also saying this. We know this.
Well, all right. So that, and you say in terms of in the legal profession, when you talk about the Attorney Grievance Commission, do you feel there's a disparity in terms of punishment?
There has been a disparity in punishment. Yes, but there's always a disparity in punishment,
and when that disparity comes in terms of the punishment, is you see like a wide disparity? I mean, in terms of somebody just getting a slap on the hand.
No, I've seen people disbarred. I'm like, you got disbarred for that? For real? For real?
Yeah. That's a different panel, right?
It's a different panel,
totally
but
different.
The consequences are always similar. They're much harsher for us than it is for them. And let me say, not just black. If it's between a man and woman, the woman is going to get her butt kicked every time.
But we can look back at the text message scandal with former Mayor Kilpatrick and how they treated the attorneys. Stefani, who was Gary Brown's attorney, he released all that stuff, and he got a slap on the hand. While some of Kilpatrick attorneys, boom, they were suspended or whatever.
Yeah.
Who were Kilpatrick's attorneys at the time?
Then you had John Johnson. It's a couple folks.
It was a couple of people. And it was really unfortunate. And they said that this guy that represented Gary Brown, he was trying to extort these people. If you don't give us what we asking for, then I'm going to do that. That's criminal.
And that's why when they made that deal originally, because he had them by the balls. So yeah, that is and I'm not an attorney, but we know people get suspended for that. They didn't like what the judge said. There was a judge, and then he retired from circuit court, Black judge. The prosecutor's office said he used the language I was scared to go before him, and all this bullshit, you know.
With him, I mean, there was beef with him for a long period of time, so they tried to use it, but he was able to he was not kicked off the bench. He was able to retire, and he says he's doing very well in retirement. So
I have another question for you.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the whole process, so explain to the people that are watching how this process.
I don't know what the process is, because I have not been through it. Thank you, Jesus. I've had to answer a grievance, and they just send you. So there's two different things. And we're talking about the Judicial Tenure Commission. There's a complaint that is filed, okay? And based on what the commission reads or what they see, then what they do is they send information to you and say, hey, we need for you to respond to this. And based on how you respond, then they make a decision as to whether or not there's going to be a proceeding and all of that. Similarly, that's with the Attorney Grievance Commission. Everybody who makes a complaint, that does not mean that it lands in a actual grievance. Okay?
So you're saying further down the process is where the discrimination is kind of taking place.
Yes.
It's not in the beginning of the process. It's when the case is being evaluated.
I don't know if it's at the beginning of the process. It very well may be. How would I know? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I recently I became aware that somebody had filed something against me. Of course, I never received it because it never went anywhere, because whatever they said was a bunch of BS. But on another occasion, the case that I just talked about, I don't know if I talked about where the guy jumped on his mother and pushed me into the doggone, and the deputies were no. Listen, the woman that was attacked, she grieved me. And do you know the Attorney Grievance Commission sent a request for information to ask me what happened? Look at the freaking videotape. I didn't do anything but do my doggone job. So I had to go through the process of answering the complaint, okay? And then they said, okay, Vanessa, nothing's going to come of that. But in the other instance, the one that I became aware of recently, I never even got Vanessa, what happened here or whatever. So I don't know if at the beginning of the process, if there's a disparity. All I'm saying is at the end of the day, the results at the end, the consequences, definitely different.
Here's Bill's.
Yeah, Bill says, hey, Bill, thanks for watching. Part of the problem is the process is cloaked in secrecy. Absolutely. These problems also exist at the very beginning of the evaluation of complaints.
That's great. That's I guess that was more of my question is, are they saying this one goes in this pile, this one goes in that pile?
It depends on, I think it depends on who gets it. Like I use myself as an example. I couldn't believe that they did a request for information, the Attorney Grievance Commission, on some BS like that. Lady, I wasn't representing you. I didn't say anything to you. I represented my doggone client.
But
it
can be, look, the grievance can be used also as retaliation. I mean, we had somebody at Deadline Detroit. We reported a straight out story from a public meeting, 100% accurate. And this attorney sued us for ruining the reputation of his client, who was doing like Zig Heil and, all that kind of stuff. And it was totally in our attorney, Herschel Fink, who's like the guy,
sure,
and basically wrote him and said, hey, look, here's why you have no case. Why don't you drop it and we'll take it at that. The guy refused. The guy filed stuff, and Herschel filed a response saying this guy should be sanctioned. He's filing the wrong case law. He's citing wrong case law. It was dismissed. There were 5 publications. It was dismissed during summary judgment, never went to trial, cost us thousands of dollars. It cost the insurance even, more than that, our libel insurance. And I thought about grieving the guy because it was basically incompetence.
But here's the thing.
To really, really make him, feel a little.
So, and if you had grieved him, who knows what would have transpired. But I will say this. With the Judicial Tenure Commission, that grievance process is a bit different because you talk about judges and attorneys is different. I sat in on a case where this attorney, he was ultimately disbarred. But what I heard from the commission, it was crazy. They said, oh, this person should be disbarred and we can't wait for him to come back and practice. We can't wait for him to join the bar. He's a wonderful advocate for his clients. He's done very well, but in this instance, he deserves to be disbarred. Now that is crazy. You have to say how great of an attorney you are, but guess what? Because of whatever, we're going to go ahead and disbar you. And when you say disbar, you have to go and take the bar again. Who wants to do that?
The criminal defense. We've seen a couple in Detroit, really high-profile, excellent attorneys who went to prison for income tax evasion or protecting their clients or whatever. They came back and they had their licenses and their.
But some that I can name didn't come back. But anyway, we're gonna take a break and we'll come back and continue this discussion. Detroit in black and white.
All right.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasurer.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasurer.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm Detroit for life.
It's a great commercial. That guy's great in there. So we're going to wrap this up, this part of it. Any final thoughts on the whole grievance procedure or the disparities there?
I don't.
You asked me a question though when we were offline. What was your question again about the line or something?
Oh yeah, we were talking about the fine line between being able to do your job and defend your clients, who may be a problem to start with, and then ending up in trouble for defending your client.
Right. So as an attorney, you have to do your job, right? But you also have to look out for yourself, right? Because you don't know if that client is going to grieve you, the judge may decide to grieve you, or somebody who don't even have nothing to do with it may decide to grieve you. So you always are on high alert, always on high alert. You have to be careful about what you say, how you say it, that kind of thing. I had a friend who, I mean, she was really being disrespected. We was in the hallway over in the Coleman A.M. Municipal Center. This person was, I mean, just downright disrespectful. And I've had that happen to me. So she cussed the mofo out. Did you know she was grieved? She was not, it wasn't just a, she actually had to answer and appear because she was very colorful language.
What about all these Trump lawyers? Any of them getting disbarred?
Who?
All the Trump attorneys that he hired here in Michigan to overthrow the election.
I think some have.
There's two that I know. One in particular, I know that they're going through the process. So who knows what may happen?
Yeah, I think some are in the process still of possibly getting disbarred. I have a question for Jim. When we talk about grievances, police officers are always being grieved all the time. Citizens are always filing complaints. How do, as police chief, how seriously did you take those grievances?
So this is what I did when I took office, when I took the position. You have to have a robust internal investigation process. And if somebody calls and says, this guy made a comment or a racial comment or a sexual comment, I open an investigation. Some of them were found to be obviously fake but you have to have that process in place. And that's why when we talk about the judicial thing, is every case taken seriously, or are they investigated? We don't know who's investigating them if we don't know but
they have investigators. Each of those agents, judicial tenure
but we don't know who they are.
Right.
But you have to investigate. If somebody says something that comes back 5 years later, this guy was twirling his gun at the Denny's, and then 5 years later he pulls his gun on a 69-year-old woman that's unloading her groceries. You have to have a record of that. And
what did you have in the department? I mean, the Detroit Police obviously has internal affairs and all that. Did you have how many officers were in?
About 40.
40. And so did you actually have an internal affairs, or were you the internal affairs?
Typically, the police chief was the decision maker, so he could not do the investigation. It was typically a lieutenant or a deputy chief. And typically, the deputy chief did in a small department.
I'm going to ask you two questions. One, how many black officers did you have down there, Trent, and how many women?
0 black officers.
Okay.
And 2 to 4, I think they have 4 or 5 women now.
Okay. Did any of those women make complaints?
Are you talking about against other officers.
Against other officers.
I never had a complaint against another officer.
That is so hard to believe, but okay. All right.
But people are held accountable too. If you have an agency that holds people accountable, you don't have those kind of problems. You have to set the guidelines, as Allan was asking the question. You have to set the guidelines. When people step outside the boundaries, there's a process. We'll give you a letter the first time, or we'll give you a verbal warning, then a letter.
Was it always
then
the same for a lieutenant who would do the investigation, or did you pick different lieutenants? Was it always one kind of go-to guy?
There were some that were better, but yeah.
And so the resentment toward that person in the department, like, oh, watch out, this guy's a snitch, or stay away from him.
I don't think we had that kind of a
Yeah,
problem.
okay.
If you did your investigation right and you laid it out for the folks that were being charged with something,
Right.
they typically were like, yeah, I did that. So, but
But Jim, how do you feel when you see cases like in one in Mississippi where the young man, 11-year-old, called the police because somebody was hurting his mother? The cops get there, they shoot him, and fortunately they didn't kill him, but they shot him. And then the grand jury said, well, the cop was just doing his job, and and he can come back and work. That's unbelievable. They put the blame on the victim.
that's geographical bias. How about that? Geographical bias. I don't think that would happen in Detroit today. I think they would be charged with a crime in most communities.
Yeah.
Mississippi and Alabama, they're still a little behind, I guess.
Well, but Detroit had them Mississippi and Alabamas because that's where they used to recruit all their police officers at one time. But anyway, no, I'm just wondering when you see stuff like that where the person call the police, they need the police, and the police get there, and boom, the person that did that dial 911 is unfortunately dead, or a family member call the police because they got somebody having a mental breakdown, and police get there, and the person having the breakdown, boom, dead. It's
funny story about when we talk about from the South or whatever, rednecks. When that film
I didn't
came,
say that.
No. Well, all right. Well, the films in 2017 when the film came out, Detroit on the riot.
Oh yeah.
Or the rebellion in Detroit.
I'm glad you corrected that.
Well, we grew up. It was the Detroit riot, and then now it's been.
Well, not always Detroit, right? That's where you was from Oak Park. Right across the street, they called it something else.
What were they calling it in the township?
In a rebellion. The people was pissed off. People had family members who couldn't go anywhere, couldn't drive anywhere on 12th Street because the Big Four and everybody else used to terrorize them. That
Right.
so yeah, so they messed with the wrong people that night.
Look, my father had a bar at Grand River and 14th Street. I was down there that morning, Sunday morning, and after we opened up at noon, I would help clean up. We'd go to the shoe shine place, and they were talking about over on 12th Street, things were getting a little wild over there, and we usually took 12th Street home, but we took the lodge. And I was in 7th grade. I was going into 8th grade. It was the summer of 7th grade, and I totally understood. I wasn't like, even though my father's bar got busted up and stuff like that. He opened about a month later, but I understood the reason. I wasn't like, why are they doing this? What is happening here? I totally got it. It was even at that age, I understood the racism, the disparity, the over dominance of white police officers in the department. But I was going to say that when they had the film in 2017 commemorating that, they had a press conference with all the actors. They did a screening and they had all the actors, and a lot of them were English guys. And I asked one of them who played this brutal white cop in there. I said, well, how do you feel playing like a redneck? And he's like, redneck? Oh my gosh, there's no rednecks in Detroit. And I was like, whatever. I mean, there were a lot of rednecks on the police force at the time, and some had come from the South, some were from here, originated from here. But there were rednecks
They used to, Allan, they used to recruit the cops from Alabama and Mississippi because they said they knew how to deal with black people. There's no question about the police department black folks saw them as an occupying force in the community. You know, as a teenager, I would never go down to Detroit. I hated it because it more than 2 or 3 young men in a car, we got stopped by the police 3 and 4 times, laid out. We went to the show at the Fox, and they had us laid out flat on the ground, saying this is a stolen car. Then they find out it's not a stolen car. We drive around the block. Here comes 4 more cops. Get down. Listen, something was wrong with your license plates. Man, I need to come to Detroit.
They never apologized.
No, they didn't. No.
Right. Why would I apologize?
I was like, when I was
Why would I apologize? That doesn't even make sense.
When I was 20 years old, I went to Windsor to buy tickets for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young at a concert in Toronto. And I was driving a Volkswagen. I had hair down to my shoulders, and I went through, customs. They tore my car apart, hoping they'd find some drugs. I mean, they took out the back seat, and they
where did they hide it?
And they never. No, I didn't have weed.
You had some weed, some acid, or something.
They did not put it.
You know he had some weed.
They were mad.
You know he had some weed. Okay.
They were mad at me. They didn't even put the seat back right. They just left it out. They were like, "Man, fuck you. We didn't get you. Okay, you got it this time." And I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" There's, you tear apart someone's car, you don't put it back together, and then
they didn't care. You was one of those hippie commie pinkos. We're gonna take a break and come back and find out what happened to that Volkswagen or whatever you was driving.
All righty, here we go.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Okay.
I was just working jobs. It wasn't a career. We were just living paycheck if I was making it to the next paycheck. By me going through the program and obtaining my GED, I have more job opportunities, better job opportunities. I got paid to get my GED, and now I have a great job with benefits working for the Detroit Police Department. Detroit had my back.
All right, we are back, and Adolph wants to talk about, well, we all do, but Adolph's going to lead this on redistricting. Tell us what's happening with redistricting and how this.
Well, the people, the leaders, the people that the commissioners that drew up these ridiculous districts. Well, it allowed the Democratic Party to get control of the Senate and the House at the expense of Detroit voters. They want to take this to the Supreme Court. And the group, the Black Detroiters, now want a special master, somebody to oversee the new makeup of some new districts, and need to have these special elections. Of course, Jocelyn Biston said she need more time to get the voters in these new districts together, etc. It's just a mess. That's all it is. It's chaotic. But the Democrats brought it on themselves. They diluted the voting power of voters in Detroit, their most loyal supporters.
let me ask,
Detroit.
what was the power diluted or was it non-existent? Because you have a very low voter turnout in Detroit.
Of course.
What I'm going to say to you is this: even with them, if you're not participating, why should I even include you? Because you don't care about it.
Because there are people that care. It don't matter. It don't matter if people don't vote. You do the right thing, and if they don't vote, that's their problem. But don't make it worse than what it is. Not everybody voting. We got a voting problem in this country. Period. You just look at the school elections. You look, a few people decide everything for everybody.
So what's
so it's not just Detroit. Don't throw all that blame on Detroit.
So now that the court has made its ruling, how are they going to make it? You say it's chaos.
Well, the courts, the 3-panel federal judge say you need to redraw these districts.
Right.
Hell or high water right now, as soon as possible. So, now they want to take it to the Supreme Court. But the big argument, Allan, Jim, and Vanessa, is that the Republican groups are financing these appeals because they wanted to go back the way it was.
Exactly.
So, people got in bed with the devil to kill Godzilla or whoever, unholy alliance.
So what's the real answer then, Adolph?
If we do the districts, that's the real answer.
Okay, we do the district.
I don't need somebody from Royal Oak representing me, and I'm on the west side or the east side of Detroit, because they don't give a damn about what's happening over there. They worried about what's happening in Royal Oak and Huntington Woods or wherever that they had represented before.
But I don't disagree with you, but here's the thing: you redraw it, right?
Yeah.
You have what you had before because you just said the Republicans are financing this appeal. They want to go back the way that it was because guess what? How it was before, it gave us the advantage. So I'm saying, okay, you talk about redrawing the lines, but how is that going to benefit the Democratic Party?
Listen, the Democratic Party, they need to get a wake-up call. And we're not giving them a wake-up call because we kiss their ass every election, gets nothing out of it, and then they throw these candidates at us like Alyssa Slotkin and say, this is your next senator. You know what? I don't buy it. And here we are on the verge of letting a maniac come and win this state. That's Donald Trump. If Democrats don't get their act together, Trump gonna be right back in the White House.
Well, it's always just so mind-boggling that Detroit, even in Lansing, is not. I mean, Detroit's the biggest city in the state, and yet it seems to be like the stepchild in Lansing. We never see the leadership of Detroiters, and in the Senate, the House, and we talk about black representation from Michigan in Congress. We've got John James, who hardly really represents the city of Detroit in any way.
He represents Macomb County. He's a carpetbagger. We got Sri Canada, who bought his way in a state rep, and then now he's in Congress. He's a real fucking idiot. He playing footsies with that fascist over there in India who's killing Muslims because they're not Hindu, and he can't even say the word Gratian right. He has no clue. But that's who we got. Rashida Tlaib, who you voted for, Allan, used Detroiters in Southwest Detroit to get elected. Then she abandoned him, and now her main agenda is the Gaza Strip. That's her. That's been her agenda. So we got two people. We gave up 2 seats to 2 fucking idiots. That's what we got.
So I think a lot of the candidates, we can fault some of there was such a huge group of candidates that there were 8 black candidates in Sharif Vanadar, and he split the vote up there and he won. I mean, that's something that this congressional district needs to get their shit together. Everybody can't win. And so it's like the race right now, Nikki Haley, I don't love, but she might have a better chance if everyone else, DeSantis and Christie's going to sort of fall off. But, they all want to get in. And so they're going to, and then we're going to have some of the no brand people come in and they're going to pave the way for Trump to, do a victory dance and then dismantle the Justice Department and get rid of all, the same thing that Netanyahu was trying to do in Israel, where he was trying to get this turnover the Supreme Court and weaken them so all his criminal charges could go. That's not democracy. And we're facing something right now where we have to be concerned about the survival of democracy, because Donald Trump has proved to us how vulnerable democracy is in this country.
Can I back up just for a second? Joe Tate's running the legislature here in Michigan. So
Joe who?
Tate. Right.
Who is that?
And thanks
I know who Joe Tate is. I know he's the Speaker of the House. But listen, Democrats has an African American woman as the chair of the Democratic Party, but we still got some major issues. They still take Detroit votes for granted. Hillary Clinton didn't get elected in Michigan. She didn't win Michigan because she never campaigned here. Now Joe Biden has a Wisconsin problem, a Pennsylvania problem, a Michigan problem. Those are real, true problems. Right. And if he doesn't do something here in the state of Michigan, and I'm not talking about the status quo, because who's running the coordinated campaign in the state? You have to look at it. Right. Can they get a big turnout? Can they make magic happen? I don't know, because they're not going to spend no dollars in Detroit. They'll get some preachers together. This is their game plan all the time. Let's go get the Council of Baptist Ministers. Let's go to this church or that church. That people don't go to church anymore like they used to. And nobody's listening to some of these jack-leg preachers.
And thanks to Karen Winston for weighing in on some of these issues. Karen, you're right on, Karen.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Well, interesting. You talk about the preachers. Did you see the preachers wrote an opinion piece in one of the newspapers on behalf of Christine Beatty or whatever her name is? Yeah. So
I got no problem with that. Listen, when somebody come under attack, she needs people to look out for her too. Right. And no question.
To pay back the city.
Look. I'm sorry. Again, I'm going back to the beginning of the show. Are they attacking her because she's a woman? Absolutely. She was not in the same position as the person that she worked with.
Right.
And what she's doing now, I mean, she's working for a nonprofit. What she's doing now, I just think that there's some great disparity and unfairness here. So, and hopefully she'll be because I've been in contact with her. Hopefully she'll be on the.
Is she gonna come on? Well,
she deserves a second chance, but she still needs to pay her. She still needs to pay the freight, just like Climate needs.
Well, let her have a job then, so she can get paid.
She's got a job. She's got a good job.
I'm sorry. Get out of here. You had a president who didn't pay taxes. Get out of here.
We're gonna continue this. We're gonna continue this conversation. We're gonna have to shut it down. We'll go to you, Vanessa. Your final thought.
Have a good weekend. See you next week. I won't be here next week. I'll be traveling next week. So
Well, I'll be here. I'll be there at McShane's and Michigan and Trumbull celebrating after Monday's victory. And Houston, Allan, your final thought.
Go Lions. I'm excited about the Lions again. I was worried about them for a little bit, but it's been a fun season. I mean, look, with everything that's going on in this world, and there is some crazy shit happening. Sports is such a great distraction. It's sort of meaningless at some level, but it's also emotionally gratifying, particularly when your team is winning. So, anyways, that's my Go Lions.
Jim?
Hopefully next week we can talk about, I'll call it Pete Street, the elimination of 375. I know that was on the agenda.
Right.
We'll look forward to
well, and you know what, and that's an issue all around the country. There was but we'll talk about that next week. This is Detroit in Black and White. Thank you, Jim, Vanessa, Allan, and Teresa, and the people that watched us and commented. We'll be back next week. Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo. Have a good weekend.
Right before you leave, we want to remind people.
Well, you can follow us on YouTube, either on Detroit in Black and White YouTube station, Deadline Detroit YouTube station. Same thing with Facebook. You can follow us live or afterwards on those pages as well. Instagram. Well, we're not on Instagram yet. I think we're going to be able to hook up with that soon. And everything else. But I want to say something. Axios Detroit, who has a website, gave us a shout out for one of the podcasts to listen to.
Awesome.
That's helping create voices here in the city of Detroit. So we want to thank Axios Detroit for giving us a shout out.
Speaking of shout outs, listen, if you're watching, like, subscribe, and share. That's what you forgot to say. Like, subscribe, and share. Thanks, everyone. Tracy Huff, who watches every week. Delwana Holly, D-Love, Karen, Bill.
Kenneth, no Kenneth
thank
today.
you, Kenneth. Somebody had Pimp V or something.
Pimp
Keep
TV.
it,
Pimp TV.
keep
talking
it,
to us. We're
pimping,
listening.
okay? All right.
All right.
See ya.
Okay. Okay, we're still on here. We're trying to get this right. Now we gotta. Oh God, no, it's still on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Here. Let me. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.